Welcome to this evening's training here. What I'd like to go over with you tonight is, and let me get something dialed in here. Hang tight. I'm still trying to figure out why this keeps going to my one Facebook group, but we'll get that dialed in later here. Make sure you type below what's going on this evening, unless it's daytime. I titled this resistance bricks. And I wanted to talk about when you're dealing with a situation. So let me do a little screen share here for you guys. And let's talk about you all of a sudden have a very frustrating problem that's happening. Have any of you had any frustrating problems this year so far? I've experienced some things that have been a little frustrating, a little interesting. And what happens is when you start to have this, frustrating problems, it's like you're starting to lay down bricks. Now, these bricks can be two things. Now, the Agugliaro Masons and my cousin Bobby might say that this is a pretty sloppy brick job right here. But if you look at these bricks, you could stack two types of bricks when dealing with some kind of resistance, some kind of issue, some kind of situation. You could either stack bricks, which these bricks are going to be the bricks of issues and no solution. Okay, that's what this is. This is the bricks that are stacking on, and maybe this brick is frustration, and maybe this brick is anger, and maybe this one is a sense of rage, right? And what happens is when you're dealing with a situation and you start stacking bricks in there that are very emotionally charged, very frustrated, you cannot see the opposite. Now, the opposite side of this here, if we come over here where you're trying to get, is solution, right? You're trying to get to this solution, and instead of stacking these bricks of resistance that are actually what they do is this creates a sense of taking time. This takes a lot of time from you when you start stacking resistance, because you cannot see any other solutions here when you are stacking bricks of resistance. Now, what do I want to do instead? And hey, everybody, Mark Anderson, what's going on? Derek, what's happening? And everybody, do me a favor, if you could hit share on this, hit share. I've been doing a whole bunch of really amazing videos for you guys. Have you been watching all of them for the new year? I hope so. Stay engaged with us in the chat here. Instead of putting these bricks of resistance, what about if we did this? What about if we identified that the problem that we're dealing with, and I always like to say situation. When you put a problem, you kind of get the feeling that this is bad. And when you put situation, you're getting the feeling that this is an experience of some kind. It may not be the desired experience that you want, but it's definitely an experience. It's an experience, okay? So you have this problem and situation. Now, what we want to do is start a foundation and say to ourselves, hang on a minute. With this situation, what is our most desired outcome? What's our most desired outcome that we want? And let's say this desired outcome just happens to sit in the bright blue sky, okay? It's in a beautiful sky, maybe not the snow sky that we had in New Jersey recently. So I have a situation and I have a desired outcome. Now, what about instead of bricks of resistance, I start stacking here bricks of solutions. So I start to think one brick I say, well, I wonder if to get to that desired outcome, I wonder if there's a resource, right? I wonder if there's a resource of some kind. Is there a book, a manual, a program, a person, right? And then all of a sudden I want to stack another one, and maybe this other brick is something of possibility. So possibility is maybe a positive focus. Okay, so I have a positive attitude on it. And then maybe another brick that's here is going to be some kind of plan to get there. The whole thing is you're always building a structure. I shared this with somebody I was on with today. Hey, what's up, Ross? Ross, send me your cell number or something, and then we'll get connected. So now what happens is this. We're always, people use the word manifestation. You've heard this before, right? Like you manifest what you want, right? You manifest it. But what people don't realize is you're always manifesting 24/7, always. And when you look at manifesting, it's not a thing you do. It's a constant evolution process that's happening. Now, let me share something else with you, which might be a little shocking for some of you. If you look at this realm of manifestation, right? It's one thing is being created. Let's clean that up a little bit there. One thing is being created and another thing is being killed. Now, hang on a second. Stay with me on this created and killed thing. And let's use the killed just as a language. It doesn't have a good or bad. We're not saying it's a positive or negative. So if we all of a sudden we know that we can't hang on to two thoughts in the same moment. Okay. You can't hang on to positive and negative at the same exact time. Okay. So if we all of a sudden have a sense of resistance, and the resistance over here is this will not work, and all of a sudden I go, well, wait a second, up here, and let's not number that one. We'll just put that as, won't work. And then we go up in the top here, and all of a sudden we replace that with do this first, right? So now what happens is, are you following me? Can you type in the chat bar following? And did you already share this on your timeline? So what happens is all of a sudden I have this thought, this won't work. This is a problem. This is not going to go the way I want. This is completely frustrating. And my goal is to create a brand new thought, brand new manifestation, brand new way to create. And what I really want to do is kill the old thought, because I don't want it to come back in. So all of a sudden I go, well, wait a minute, let's do this first. Let's build a plan. Let's find a person. Let's find a resource. Let's find a solution. Let's think about this a different way. Let's look at the land of possibility. And all of a sudden, the old thought is killed. So you get a choice within this cycle right here. You get a choice, and you tell me in the chat bar, what kind of bricks have you been laying? And what situation have you been dealing with to lay these bricks? You're either going to lay the bricks of support or the bricks of resistance. Now, some of you, be upfront with me, probably professional. They're not even bricks, they're blocks or steel plates, right? You've been conditioned over time. A lot of people have been on more of the situation than the solution. Right? I mean, just look what we've been dealing with the last couple of years. I mean, we're talking more about the problem and the outcome of the problem than the solutions to really improve a lot of things. Now, what causes you to sit in one world of creation and another world of resistance and the opposite side? What keeps you within this? I'm going to tell you, I'm going to put it in the middle. It's some of the building blocks of confusion is one of them. The other one is chaos, right? So we have confusion and we have chaos. When we have confusion and chaos, we're going to the one side, which we would call a downside, which is building the resistance up, which makes it very hard to move forward. You tell me in the chat bar, what are some areas in life that you feel like you're carrying a bag of bricks or a bag of blocks? What areas of those life were you the one that put the blocks and the bricks in the bag? Now, as soon as you could face that and stop going to the reaction of, no, Mike, it's my wife, it's my husband, it's this person, it's that person, it's my neighbor, it's all of this that put the blocks in the bag, you have to say to yourself, well, wait a minute. They might have handed you a block of resistance. It's up to you if you chose to put it in the bag, right? It's up to you if you chose to put it in the bag. Now, the heavier the bag gets with blocks of resistance, the harder it's going to be to go back and kill those thoughts later, because, you ready for this, everybody? When you stack enough blocks of resistance that you have to go back in, it all of a sudden creates an impact. And this impact is normally in some form of trauma of some kind. Now, trauma doesn't have to be a big thing like you lost an arm and crashed a car and almost died. That doesn't have to be that. Trauma can be as much as holding a thought in your mind that's keeping you in a place that you don't want to be. Think about that, right? I'm staying in this place that I don't want to be. Well, that's trauma. It could be little, it could be big, but it's still something that holds you back. How do you get past trauma? Well, you got to kill the old thing and create a new. That's why when I talk about identity, or I talk about energy, and I talk about the parts of frequency, and I talk about the thinking process, and I talk about how to put this all together, if this makes sense to you, if you don't know how to process through it, ready? Write this down. If you don't know how to process through it, you're going to live within it. If you don't know how to process through it, you're going to live within it. And so many people are living within it because, one, they don't know any better. They're stuck within this paradigm of, I don't need to know, or I'm okay, or this works this way, or old dogs can't learn new tricks. They just decide, well, I guess I'm right, or my parents were like this, they dealt with like that generation. And then what they choose is just carry those bricks forward. Come on, be upfront with me. Type in the chat bar. How many of you are carrying generational bricks of resistance? Come on. Do you have some of those? Your grandparents said, well, this is how we ate, and this is what we did, and this is what you don't want to do, and this is how we lived, and don't be like this, and don't be like that. And you're like, bricks and blocks and stones. Now, if you understand this theory of it, well, at least you could start taking a little bit of action, right? A little bit of action. There's two actions you could take. Here's one action. One, let's say this is a brick, and on the top side is constant issues that you keep making bigger than what they are. You keep inflating them. And on the bottom part is solutions. Well, one part is I could just choose to redefine this. I could just redefine the identity of that thing. Done. Now, sometimes that's easier said than done, because temporary identity or temporary renaming is not a permanent transformation, right? Number two, I can just try to kill this whole thing. Let me pluck it out, pull it out. Eventually, something's going to happen. The brick is going to become bigger and heavier, or the brick's going to become redefined. But eventually, when life gets struggling, it's the stacking of pressure. So I think this brick metaphor is a very good metaphor for what you're doing every day. Now, since I'm from a family of Masons, it's even a second bonus metaphor, because they were constantly pouring concrete, laying bricks, blocks, foundations. If you build a foundation right, it stays strong, and it stays strong for a long time. If you build the foundation wrong, the sucker will buckle out under too much pressure on the outside, too much water, too much rain, right? The structure is not bound, the thing collapses. There's no different in life. If you're reinforcing, supporting it, and creating the definitions you want to live within it, then guess what? you're going to have a foundation for your life, because guess, you know something. And all of you, including myself, probably have some thought, something that you probably should kill and create something else in its place. Is that true? You tell me, type it in. Let's share together. See, what I learned is if I bring it forward and share it, then maybe you'll turn around and go, I can relate to it. And then maybe you'll get someone else to listen and goes, hey, what kind of bricks are you stacking today? Bricks of resistance or bricks of solution? Are you creating something or are you killing something? Do you want to stay with that thing that could, you built this thing that you need to kill, but really it's killing you? How many of you, when you have a thought of some kind, you have a thought, do all of a sudden that thought, if it's not exactly the thought you want, it consumes the hell out of your life. It consumes your brain. I mean, we've all dealt with this. Doesn't matter if it's sickness, if it's health, if it's relationship, if it's money, doesn't matter. All of a sudden, it's like, holy mackerel. So what's the action item for you? The action item for you today is ask yourself, what kind of bricks have you been laying? What kind of bricks should you be laying? And what do you have to redefine to start moving forward with a more holistic, healthier, happier life, and not have to be in that state of being stressed out? All right, I hope this is super helpful for you. Make sure you're laying the right bricks.